Hello, and welcome to the St. Louis Goalkeeping Academy's instructional video on punting and drop kicks. Of all the technical aspects that a goalkeeper might have to deal with, ranging from catching, to diving, to breakaways, to taking of crosses, this particular skill set is probably the one where you're going to find the most variation from player to player, depending on physical attributes, which we'll get into later, as well as soccer culture from country to country, from continent to continent. If you watch a lot of soccer in different parts of the world, you'll notice that there are many different styles, variations of punting and hitting drop kicks in terms of the distribution of a soccer ball. So we're going to go over a couple of those, but the basic stuff that we're going to give you are kind of some foundational elements, some kind of principles that you need to keep in mind when working on your punting or your drop kicks. Now, your drop kicks and your punting are going to be pretty similar in terms of their approach, in terms of your timing, stuff like that, right up until the very end. The beginning and middle stages of it are pretty much similar. The very endings where you're going to have some differences, and we'll explain those. In terms of your approach when taking a punt or a drop kick, first principle that you want to keep in mind is that when you approach a ball, you never ever want to approach a ball straight on. Okay? If I have the ball here and I'm the goalkeeper and I want to kick it downfield down there, I don't want to face straight to where I'm going to kick the ball. The reason for this is because the leg swing we're not allowed, it doesn't allow us to get as much leg swing and enough energy into the strike as we possibly can. We're limited in terms of what we can do from there to there. All right? That motion is limiting to us in terms of power, in terms of energy. So what we want to do here, anytime you're going to take either a punt or a drop kick, you want to make sure that your approach comes off at an angle. Okay? So let's say we were to set a big giant clock and lay it down flat on the field. And wherever we are, we're the number 6. We're at the bottom of the clock. We're standing on the number 6. And where we want to kick it to downfield is the number 12, straight downfield. Okay? So we're at the 6. Where we want to go is number 12. We would adjust our positioning, our hips and our shoulders, to turn somewhere between 1 and 2 o'clock. All right? That's the approach that you want to take when going to strike a soccer ball. So if I'm here and I want to go down to 12, I'm going to start my approach this way, between 1 and 2. All right? At that point, you want to continue through your approach, nice and slow. Again, you don't want to race into your approach. All right? The faster you move into your approach, the less balance you have. The less balance you have, the worse your timing's going to be. The worse your timing's going to be, the quality of the kick suffers. Okay, so you want to make sure that your approach into it is nice and slow. It's not fast, it's under control, it's nice and relaxed, maybe 2, 3, 4 steps at the most. If you watch goalkeepers on TV in the professional leagues or international games, they don't take a giant run up. It's just 1, 2, 3 steps and they give it a ride. All right? In terms of which hand do you hold out of? Now, most players are right-footed. If you're a right-footed kicker like myself, you want to hold out of your left hand. All right? You don't want to hold out of your right hand like this. Now, when I was playing, I'm a right-footed kicker. I dropped out of my right hand, and it took me much, much longer to learn how to master the motion and to learn how to deal with the distances. Where to drop the ball, how far inside, how far outside, how far away from me do I drop it, how close to myself do I drop it. It took me a lot longer to learn it dropping out of the same hand as my kicking foot. All right? If you're a left-footed player, you want to drop out of the right. If you're a right-footed player, you want to drop out of the left. All right? Now, here comes the big difference here. If I'm faced between, my hips and shoulders are faced between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. I got the ball in my left hand. And we talked about earlier about variations. And this is where the variation is going to come in. It's going to come in depending on your individual build as a goalkeeper. All right, some goalkeepers are taller. Some goalkeepers are shorter. Some goalkeepers have longer legs than another goalkeeper. Other goalkeepers have longer arms than another. So it's going to be up to you to do the work, all right, to try to figure out and adjust the technique for your given body type. How tall you are, how long your legs are, how long your arms are. That will dictate how far out, close to you, sideways, left to right, you drop the ball. It's going to be based on your individual body size. All right. If I'm here, I'm at 6, I want to go to 12. Ball's in the opposite hand. If I'm right-footed, ball's in my left hand. Come into it, here, drop, and then not toss. You do not want to feel like you're tossing the ball up because that's going to kill your timing. All right? You just want to drop the ball out of your hand. Now, here comes the tricky part. The drop, once you've dropped the ball and your hips and shoulders are still pointing between 1 and 2, once you drop the ball, you're going to have to turn, rotate these hips and shoulders through, right? Through into your kicking motion. So at the point of contact with the ball, your hips and your shoulders should be pointing at 12 o'clock. When your foot strikes the ball, hips and shoulders should be facing straight ahead. Before contact, you should still be between 1 and 2 o'clock on the big imaginary clock that's laid on the ground. Here, all right? There, drop, rotate through. All right? Now the rotation, again, is going to have to be figured out based on your individual body size. Sometimes you're going to rotate too fast, and then you're going to have a ball, if you're right-footed, that hooks off to your left. Sometimes you're going to rotate too slow, and you're going to have a ball that curves off to your right. All right? The ball will always dictate for you what kind of adjustments you need to make. Okay? Now sometimes it's a possibility that you might drop the ball too close inside of you. If you find yourself dropping the ball too close inside of you, what's going to happen is that ball, there's not enough room at the point of contact, so your hips and shoulders are going to be faced that way at the point of contact, off to your left. If you drop the ball too wide, it hits off the outside of your foot, curls out to the right. All right? So now let's talk about the next element as to what part of our foot should we be making contact with. We're going to strike this ball, whether it be off the drop kick or off the punt. We want to hit the same spot on our foot. All right? So let's take a look here as to what part of my foot am I making contact with. Okay, now we're making contact with the ball. All right? Whether it be off the punt or off the drop kick, you want to make sure that you are striking the ball with this part of your foot, right in the laces here, all right, right down the center, there, directly onto the ball. So if I'm here, foot should make contact straight on, underneath the ball, slightly behind the ball. All right, same thing if it's a drop kick. Now if it's a drop kick, I'm going to let that ball hit the floor. Just as it hits the floor and starts to come up, then I'm going to look to make contact with my foot. All right, if I make contact too late off a drop kick, the ball will bounce too high into the air. All right, then I've got to wait on the ball, and now the quality of the kick's going to suffer, and the elevation is going to be too high. So on a drop kick, the ball's got to hit the ground, just start its way up, and then I'm making contact here with the laces of the shoe, right in that area. Okay? If I'm hitting just a punt, then as the ball drops down, then boom, right with the laces there. Again, at the point of contact with your feet, hips and shoulders should be facing straight ahead.